Hello and welcome back to PAO Fans International. This is the American crew again. Well, about half the American crew. It's just me and Alex today. Alex, how are you doing, man?
What's up, Antoni? I'm good. It's been a while since we've been on. I was, looking at the recent pods, you know, in perspective. And the last pod that PAL Fans International did was March 12, which was like 3 weeks ago at this point. And the last pod we were on was March 6, I think. So it's been almost a month for us. So it's been a minute.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can't believe it's already been that long since we were last on the pod. Feels like it was like a week or two ago. We had a lot of stuff in between, that international breaks that kind of took up some of the time away from Panathinaikos. But we've had a pretty up and down kind of recent set of results. I guess we can just kind of like dive right into it. This past, I believe, was it on Sunday? Panathinaikos took on PAOK and fell to them 2-3 after winning against Olympiacos before the international break. So, um, coming out of that international break, it was a little bit of a disappointing result. Least that we could say there. Alex, you watched the game. How did you see that game? What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
I mean, it was obviously upsetting. The result is not obviously in favor of us. But even further from the result, in the moment, I felt like it was really bad. Like, I guess it was, a recency bias, like shit, we lost. Uh, Felt like everything went wrong and stuff like that, especially like even at the end with like Palacios getting the red, with a hand to save the goal and then just the penalty to go in anyway. But yeah, it just felt like everything went wrong. But I guess I kind of put it more into perspective like the days after, when I was looking at like stats and kind of more in depth. But yeah, right off the bat, I think the thing that stuck out was the two striker formation because we played Foti and Sporar up top, and that was definitely surprising because we haven't seen that, I don't think, at all under Tareem, and even under Yova we hadn't seen that barely at all. Um, Even though that was something we've kind of been calling for, even from the Yova days. We were kind of calling for a two striker formation because that might complement Foti better because he's kind of that second striker, center forwardish type player, almost a hybrid between a cam and a striker. And he went with it on Sunday, and it kind of didn't work. So that was the first thing that stuck out. Um, but yeah, those were like my immediate impressions.
Yeah, it's that is something that I remember back when Yova was there that we were kind of asking for as well. Yeah, a bit of a disappointment that it didn't work against PAOK. Now, something that just kind of naturally comes to my mind now is we've played PAOK, I think, this is like four times now. And it's just kind of baffles me a little bit like how Tareem like really gets it wrong against PAOK, I feel like. I mean, the first game that we lost to them, he didn't really get it wrong, but I mean there was some things that I didn't really like from what I saw. Then we played them in the cup at Dumba, and I felt like that was our best performance against PAOK. And it's like we just kind of strayed away from it. And it's like, we go up against Lucescu, and he kind of, I mean, to me, it seems like he has Tareem's number. He kind of just hasn't figured out. And so you kind of get why Tareem is experimenting a little bit and trying to, shake the box up a little bit uh, in that game with that two striker formation. But it just is, it definitely is, disappointing. We went down early against Balk, and it's, it just, certain things that are concerning with me. And I'll bring it up as well when we talk about AEK, but it's just the team's consistency for me. We came off that win against Olympiacos, myself, and I'm sure you as well, and everybody else. Like we were kind of like thinking, like, okay, this is the perfect start of the playoffs. This is gonna kind of be the catalyst that sets us going forward. But I mean, we go in we're at home and we drop points to PAOK like that, and then now it's like every game is a final now. Like it's it's just not good. It's just echoing to me the same Panathinaikos that I've seen pre-over for years on end. Um, it's not a complete disaster, but I mean that result to me just kind of sums up our season in a way. We're just way too inconsistent. That's the only thing we're consistent at is
I like
that.
I like that you brought up the kind of the previous games with PAOK too, because now we have like kind of a big enough sample size, at least against PAOK in particular, to see how things are going. And basically we've had 4 games against PAOK under Tarim at least. So since the start of this year, and we're 1-3, so one win, 3 losses, and uh, I've kind of seen like a mixed performance and mixed results from all the games. So just dumbed down. The first one was a 2-1 loss in the league. That was in the end of January. I found that performance kind of neutral. Like I'm just going to give like just a couple word review of each game. So I found that performance neutral. We had about equal chances with PAOK, and we had 61% possession. So again, it was away. You try to get all the points you can, but based on the stat line, my vague memory of the game, all this factored in, I just label that as a neutral performance. Then we had the 0-1, 1-0 cup win. That was also away, and that was a good performance. That was probably one of the best games we've had under Tarim. We kept PAOK to only 2 shots on target that whole game. So that in itself is very good, and that lends itself to also why we can label that one of Tarim's best games, because to keep a top 4 team to just 2 shots on target in 90 minutes is definitely not a small feat. Plus the away cup win helps, and then we had the 2-1 cup loss at home where I think Tarim just dropped the ball. He parked the bus. It was very clear that was the game plan, not because it wasn't just part of the game. It was basically for the whole 90 minutes of regulation that we were just sitting behind the ball. And I mean, the goal game in the 75th minute, and the writing was on the wall from the first half. Like it wasn't even, could have been more than 1-0 that game. So that was one that I was like, all right, he didn't get it right here. And then most recently, by the way, also in that home cup loss, which we ended up progressing on penalties, we only had 3 shots on target that whole game, including the extra time. So in a game where it's elimination, it's, even if you come in having the lead, 3 shots on target is like, I mean, basically unacceptable in my eyes. But that was like the lowest point, I think, versus PAOK under Tarim. And then we had the 3-2 loss this weekend, which again, I thought I felt worse about it than I feel now after like looking into it a little more, which I could get a little more into. But that's just like my overview of how I see those 4 games against PAOK under Tarim up until now.
Yeah, that's kind of like that was like my first thought when we lost on Sunday. I was thinking to myself, now we have a decent amount sample size to figure PAOK out. And really, I mean, again, that one cup win that we had was like the best performance against them. And it's like Tarim's just dropped the ball again. And I feel like I don't know, maybe it's in my head. I feel like I give this sentiment off that I'm not a Tarim guy. But
Same, yeah.
yeah, like it's not that I'm against Tarim. It's just the thing is, I think these are valid criticisms. Like he drops the ball. I mean, any coach drops the ball.
So does everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, when he drops the ball, I'm gonna call it out. And I mean, he against PAOK, that's his bogey team. I mean, he can't figure Lucescu out. I mean, it reminds me of Lucescu's dad, who came out and said when we hired him, I can't see Tarim ever beating my son. I mean, he's managed one time, but now I'm starting to think, yeah, I don't know. Like we go with something that works, and I don't know if Tarim is overthinking it. It's like we see like these radical changes from game to game, like that one win in the first leg of the cup, and then we're at home at Leoforos, and it's like we're gonna play like 11 behind the ball, and it's like I didn't expect that, honestly. I mean, I knew you have to be a little more cautious, but we were playing scared at home, and it's just like I don't know. I don't understand it, and that's where I get a little bit worried. Um, so we play PAOK one more time this playoff in Tumba, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna pray that we have a performance like the first cup game because I don't know, man. They freak me out.
So specifically, yeah. So specifically with the game on Sunday, the reasons why after I looked into it more, I didn't feel as bad about it is because we didn't do a lot wrong. Like we had a lot of chances. We had 18 shots total, which is very good, and we had 63% possession. We had more shots than PAOK total, but in the end, we had the same shots on target as them. I don't remember how many they had in total, but I think we had total 18. They had maybe total 11. And then out of that, even though there's a difference, we still had the same shots on target as them. So I think that points to not as quality chances as they had. The other thing, I think Kotarski also had a good game. I think I have to give credit where he's due. I think he's a good keeper, and I think he did show up that game. He just got capped by Croatia for the first time over the international break, so I think that also shows his worth. It wasn't a friendly, but still, like we've known he's a good keeper. It wasn't
Yeah.
ever a secret, but I do think he did show up in that game. But yeah, like I said, the shots point to us not having a particularly bad game in creating. It was just the lack of quality um, chances, something that we've again seen in the past, regardless of the coach. The other big thing about the formation that I wanted to bring up that Sturge actually brought to our attention, which he got, I think, through the Leoporo space, is that Baba Rahman, their left back, who is one of their most influential players, was out that game. And in a game where you see their good left back out, Palacios, our right wing, did not start that game to attack that weakness, which that is interesting. So in a game where, even though I don't criticize Tareem particularly for trying the two striker formation, because that's even something, like I said, that we've been calling for, I think this was an interesting game to try that in general, but also specifically because of this absence in the PAOK defense. So you pull Palacios, and so no, sorry, you put in Spore, the second striker. Inevitably, you got to pull another attacking player. That happened to be Palacios, and that in turn didn't work out because we could have attacked a weakness that we just didn't take advantage of. That I think whether or not, I guess the question begs, did he know that Baba was going to be out? Who knows? But in hindsight, it didn't. It could have been more influential. Could have been probably would have been more influential to have Palacios, there to attack that weakness. Um, Another thing I wanted to say about the problems on Sunday is that PAOK is a team that plays heavily on the counter, which even if you're listening to LS Footy Pod, their guy, the PAOK guy Elaine, he says it continuously. He even said it today on the pod. So that's not a secret. Their own fans see that, and even I wanna pull up something to show you. So I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. 1 second. My bad. So I was looking at the momentum charts, which are, I find, a pretty good indicator of. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the momentum charts. Anyone familiar with SofaScore has seen these before. I'll briefly explain them. These are just momentum charts. They show basically the attacking momentum of the full game for both teams, and the height of the line shows higher attacks momentum. Lower line is lower momentum. And these 4 games are the 4 games that we've played against PAOK this year under Tareem in chronological order. So you have, they're labeled to the side. And why I'm bringing them up is that if you see where the PAOK goals are, obviously marked by the balls, they all come in moments where they don't have momentum. They're not attacking heavy. They come on either against the run of play or on the counter attack. The only exception here is the third chart from the top where they were attacking the whole game because that was the park the bus game in the second leg. Other than that, most of their goals, if not all of their goals, are coming at very low momentum times for them. So either we're on the attack and they take the ball and counter, kind of like both goals happened on Sunday. If you see both goals, there, especially the second one, there is no momentum for a long period of time for PAOK, and they're scoring. So this is not something that's a secret. This is not something that is, you know, I would assume not obvious to Tareem and the players, to the point where their own fans like Elaine are pointing this out and saying that we play on the counter. But we still are falling susceptible to this many times over, I'm going to say 3 games because the third from the top game was, where we parked the bus. So to fall susceptible to this again is just like, I don't know what else to say, but there was a lack of preparation, a lack of focus, because it's happening again and again. And right. I'm not saying that like PAOK are not, like PAOK can be executing their game plan perfectly. So like credit to them if they're doing that, which clearly they are. But at the same time, like you have to do better to stifle that. You can't be conceding 2 goals on the counter almost every game to PAOK. That's not sustainable. And that's clearly not telling to me that you're addressing the problem, or let's say recognizing the problem. So, again, you could look at this yourself. I think it's pretty obvious. Like if you could see my mouse here, these 2 very low periods of momentum goals, especially this one, we had the momentum, scored on the counter. Second one, no goals for them. Okay, that was our good game. Third one, they're on the attack, but they score here on the counter, obviously. And then these are self-explanatory. This one is, I think, the most damning one because they did not have momentum at all for like what? This is almost like 30 minutes of game time. So yeah, that was a long spiel, but
no, that was really good, and I actually it paints the picture, yeah, because you're talking about it. I'm seeing those charts where the areas of lowest momentum, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at their goals and just kind of they're remembering the goals from each of the games, and yeah, they did bar that one second leg cup game where they had like full momentum the whole time. Yeah, they come out of nowhere, and it is frustrating because it's like, as it is, we're already a really, I mean, I don't want to say really bad, but we're a shaky defensive team as it is, and I don't know, it could be a personnel thing, but I don't know. As a coach, I feel like you've got to find some type of preparation because you're going to get hit out on the counter. So I don't know. I was worried about it with yesterday's game as well, getting hit out on the counter. But PAOK are a very, very good team. I mean, they're in what is it, the quarterfinals or the semifinals of the conference league? Quarter. Yeah. So they're a quarterfinal team in Europe. So they're a good quality team, and they definitely deserve to be where they're at. And it's just, for us, it's frustrating because there's ways to stifle it. There's ways to stop it. It's just the games against them always seem like, to your point, like we seem ill prepared, and that's the frustrating thing. I mean, we have another game against them at their home, and like I said earlier, I hope we get that one right. I hope we get that one figured out. We know not to go with 2 strikers against PAOK again, so I don't think Tareem's gonna go with that again. But yeah, man, I'm just overall. I mean, I do feel a little bit better now that you've kind of shared all those points about the loss on Sunday. I was really frustrated. PAOK are probably. I was really worried about AEK, but I think PAOK now are like the team that kind of scare me because we've played them the most, and it's like we can't figure them out. That's the scary thing.
I still think I know PAOK is on top right now, and then we could get a little more into this after the AEK game, but I'm still a little more worried about AEK because I think PAOK are more susceptible to dropping points to other teams, especially the weakest teams, Aris, and they've already dropped points to Aris when they lost 1-0 on the first match day. But yeah, I think PAOK are still more susceptible to drop points to everyone and specifically to the weakest teams. While AEK, I'm still scared that I don't know how many points they're going to drop. Their derby record is still very good even after the loss to us yesterday. So yeah, I still scare me, I think, a little more, which actually I don't think I was even saying that before the playoffs. I think before the playoffs I had PAOK as my team to beat, but uh yeah, I now I'm maybe flipping a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of, we can kind of get into the AEK game now. So, those of you that may have missed it, Panathinaikos played AEK yesterday. At Leoforos, it was a home game. Panathinaikos ended up winning the game 2-1. We started off very shaky. We conceded a goal, I think, on the 4th minute, very amateurish goal, if you ask me. Immediately put our backs to the wall. But Panathinaikos and Tarim, they responded well. We saw a formation change. We saw a game plan change. Panathinaikos was playing high up the pitch, pressing high. Bacaseta scored a goal initially, got it taken away due to offside. Then he scored a very beautiful. I love he shoots those nice low driven shots with his left foot, and they're always so nice. He scored that one, and we just gained momentum. And after that, it was I were essentially fighting an uphill battle until the last few minutes of the first half. That's when they started to come alive, and then second half, or no, actually, let me back up a little bit. Foti actually scored like a minute or two right after that. It was a beautiful chip goal, and like to Alex's point in the chat, I had mentioned. I mean, I haven't seen a player chip a goal since Berg. I mean, against
Yeah,
Paloni like years ago.
you had to bring up Berg.
I had, yeah, there we go. So those are listening. I had to bring Berg up again, man. You know, it was the first time that I've seen a player since him score a chip. It was just, I mean, we can kind of get into it, but I mean, yesterday's game, Foti was, my goodness, man, he was my MVP. But how'd you see the game before we even get into that, Alex?
Um, well, you said it. You started off, which is it was the first notable thing that happened. It was the goal that we conceded, which, dude, you should have seen my fucking face after after that goal. It was yeah,
Dude, I was
it was yeah, it was not good because not only because we went down, but it was just I was like I'm just watching the PAO game again because the PAO game we conceded in the 2nd minute, and then in the very next game we conceded in the 4th minute. And I'm just like, I'm literally just gonna sit here for 90 minutes and watch the same game and just be in a bad mood after this again. So yes, I have to fully admit it was miseria right after the 1-0. I think rightfully so, because how many times can you see the same thing happen, especially in such quick succession, and not just get down on yourself. But yeah, got past that, and then we took it to them. It didn't take long for us to turn it on. We did go down, but I think 10th, 15th, 20 minute, we did get into the game. The goals were both nice, like you said. The offside goal that came before the Bagacetas goal that counted was the Arau offside where he crossed to Bagacetas, and that was just like, oh my god, like really, like
yeah.
you're straying offside here, like it might be the easiest moment you could stay onside, and you're straying offside when we're climbing up a hill already. So that even put me in a worse mood. But then the actual Bacaseta's goal for the equalizer came soon after, which, again, like you said, well taken goal. That was something that we've said since Bacaseta's came that we were missing that. We've been afraid to take long shots as a team since the beginning of the season, partially because, I don't know, we're very scared, but also I think because we don't have someone who possesses that quality, at least before Bacaseta's came. So we said that on the day or whatever on the pod where we signed him before he even played a match. That's something that he brings to the table, and he definitely brought it to the table. So it's great to see him do that, and something that we were lacking. And then just a couple minutes later for Foti to pull that out of his pocket, that chip is that's definitely something special and not something that is easily done. I should also say that the hustle that he put in to get the ball there was maybe even better than the chip, because that was almost a nothing situation. Mukudi was in the back. He's kind of clumsy himself, good defender, but kind of clumsy himself. So that's great recognition and hustle from Foti to press the back line and force an error, because that goal was 100% him. No one else had any part to play in that goal. It was his hustle, his stealing cleanly too, not to foul there, because the ref wants to fucking blow the whistle there,
Yeah.
to help the defender out. And then just to put the finish, it was just honestly, like, from all aspects of it, 10 out of 10. And that is not something you could take for granted. And definitely got to acknowledge that that is something that Foti brings to the table. As for the second half, we kind of let off the gas a little bit. We had a couple of chances early in the half to put it away. Foti had that really nice chance around the 50th minute where he like hit it on the half volley, and Athanasiadis was just an agalma. He was a statue, and just because he was on the half volley, like swerved just past his post, his left, Foti's right. But that would have made it 3-1, and that really would have put the game to bed. But it wasn't to be. And then, yeah, like I said, we kind of let off the gas, which could have expected a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe I would have wanted to see a little more. I get, around the 75th minute, 75th minute, he started making some, pretty defensive subs. But yeah, it worked out. So, I guess in hindsight, how much can you be upset about it? I'm not. Of course, I'm very happy with how it played out. But one thing I wanted to mention about the first half, just going back a little bit, is that you got to give credit to Tareem, because after we went 1-0 down, you saw a stark contrast in how the team was positioned. The back line was sitting higher up, and there was a lot more high press on their defense, which I guess, like we said with Foti, that's what resulted. But it was a risk to take, because even at some points when they had the ball, you could see our back line was almost at the halfway point, and you were like, okay, this is a risk, because like one long ball over the top, Levy Garcia has the pace. He's going to outrun both Yedvay and Akaidin. So 100% a risk, but in that situation, it's a risk you got to take. And like I said, hindsight, at the end of the day, it panned out. So you got to give credit to Tareem for being willing to take that risk, knowing that full well that we need a goal, and we probably need a goal before half, because this AEK team is good. Their defense is suspect, but this AEK team is good. So if you go into the locker room 1-0 down, I don't know if you could expect 2 goals to flip it just in the second half. Maybe you could, finish it 1-1, but I got to give credit for the sense of urgency early on to get that equalizer, and then obviously get the 2-1. So that was something I wanted to point out, because that was influential in getting that, flipping the score so early.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, a great breakdown for sure, because it was a risk. Like, going back to what you were talking about with Tareem, because I mean, have such a fluid, beautiful attack. I mean, I have to give them credit. When they're firing on all pistons, I mean, Alki mentioned it. I mean, they have to really get their passes right on those counters, but they're a threat, man. They can create a chance out of nothing. So I was very happy with the way that we responded. I mean, Alex, I'm the same way. As soon as we went down 1-0, I mean, I was pissed. I'm like, of course, dude. I'm like, of course we go down. I'm like, this is gonna be a Desada right here that we're gonna cop 4-5. But then, like a couple minutes into it, I was still being a little miserable guy in the chat though. I was like, this is dumb, I'm all pissed off and all that. But reality, like, I'm looking at them playing, and I'm like, oh, we're actually we're playing pretty decent. Bernard was, and again, all credit to Bernard. I have been on his case in the past about, I wasn't really thinking that he lived up to his contract, but since Tareem came, I mean, he's been really, really good, and he was creating chances going through. He even had a chance to score himself. It just missed. And I just love the overall response. I mean, those 2 quick goals, and I think Nick said it. I mean, we could have even scored. It could have been 3-1, 4-1 with some of the chances we had. I mean, Foti, I mean, the ball, like you mentioned, that half volley, I mean, it barely spun outward, dude. And I mean, that could have gone in. If it was like half an inch to the left, it would have gone in. And he had a few chances of his own. Besides that, it was just overall, I liked what I saw. And even, I mean, credit to Samet, to Akaidin. I mean, he had that one screw up over there with that stupid tackle at the end. But I mean, overall, he showed up Yedvai. I mean, Yedvai's been pretty good this season as well. Our back line held up pretty well, and I was really nervous about that. And we did what we could with our left back situation. I mean, Juan Carr's getting up there. Mladen is, he's a makeshift left back in my opinion. Shouldn't be playing back there, but yeah,
Yeah, Akaidin, I mean, I think definitely his best Panathinaikos game. The bar was kind of low to be fair, but even with a low bar, I think he definitely showed up. I think he was probably in my top three. I think it was Foti, Bagacetas, and Akaidin. Honestly, like he pocketed Levi Garcia.
yeah,
I don't think Levi Garcia did anything basically. He got subbed off pretty early too, if I remember correctly. So
yeah.
that's just a testament to how ineffective he was, and a testament to how good I think Gedbay was also good, but the duo was good, and specifically like you said, Akaidin. So definitely his best Panathinaikos game. And then he had those funny comments after the game. Did you see that he was asked? Because a journalist asked him, like, I don't know, what did you think of Levi Garcia, or like what went right against Levi Garcia? And he was like, he's a good player, but I've seen better. So
It's gonna be,
that that's a
yeah,
that's a little banter there.
yeah. He was feeling himself there.
One thing I wanted to point out that I think also Tareem got right in the second half is that even though I wanted us to maybe go at it a little more than we did, he uh he fell back on a 5-4-1 formation. So which is just a testament also to, that we did end up going more defensive for the majority of the second half. But it actually worked because we were absorbing a lot of pressure, which I was worried about because there's only so much pressure you could absorb from AEK. They have a good attack. So that sustained pressure over a long time, that worried me. But that 5-4-1, so Arao, who was playing in the midfield, he started in the midfield at the 6. He dropped back into the defense and was playing in between Akaidin and Yedvai, and that actually worked well. And I think actually, if even though I was worried about sitting back for the majority of the second half, I think the reason that it didn't falter is because he didn't just stick with a back four. If he stuck with a back four, I think we would have conceded. But because he added a third center back essentially with Arao, who's been very used to that position recently, that obviously reinforced the defense, but made that sustained press from AEK less threatening, because they did have the sustained press, but they didn't actually do anything of essence with it. So I think that's where he got it right. Kind of differently, in contrast, in a funny way, to that PAOK second leg cup game where Tareem clearly sat back for the majority or whole game, but it was with that back four. So that sustained press couldn't be squandered for such a long period of time. But on the contrary, with the AEK game just yesterday, that back five really, I think, made the difference with absorbing the pressure, because did they even have, like, they probably had a couple of shots in the second half, but like nothing of essence. I think they had one scary chance that Dragowski kind of made a pretty routine save to his left, but other than that, like, so I got to give credit there too. So I think in both halves, Tareem made some pretty major changes that ended up being influential to, the tale of two halves kind of thing. Why we took the lead in the first half and why we were able to keep it in the second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I noticed there was like a switch from the first half. Arao was kind of, with that high press, he was moving up a lot. And then I noticed that in the second half, it's like we were playing with 3 stoppers. But yeah, to your point, it was a 5 back formation because we had the 2 left backs plus Arao slotting in behind. I thought that was actually really good as well, because for me, if the first half MVP, if I could give 2 MVPs, was Foti, I'd say for me, Arao was the MVP for the second half, just defensively. Like, Samet did really good as well to pocket Levy, but I mean, I don't know. I just felt like Arao really calmed down the back line. He just provided that stability. His outward passes to kind of clear the lines was phenomenal in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, it was a shaky game. It was a nervy game. It's stressful. I have only lost one time this season before that, so it was it was overall good. I mean, we got the win, we got those 2 goals that we needed, and I was actually really happy with like that turnaround because I thought once we conceded the first one, that cheap, easy goal, dude. I mean, I'm like, we're gonna just shrug our heads down and we're just gonna concede, and that's why I was just so pissed. But I gotta credit the turnaround.
What I will say, firstly, to your point about Ajax, Ajax only had one loss prior to this. Great point. Their only loss was to Offi, and this was their second loss. This is their first derby loss, and I think in 17 matches they were undefeated in derbies for about a year, either just over a year or just under a year.
Wow.
So that would be playoffs last year, and this is our first outright win against them. I think Nick mentioned in six. That would date back to September 2022. So a lot of streaks were broken, which hopefully for our sake this just leads to more I drop points. But yeah, I think there's still a threat. It's good that we were able to hand them that loss, that kind of elusive derby loss that other teams were trying to hand them. Thankfully, it was us because that's a 6-pointer at the end of the day at this point in the season. But what was this? The second thing I wanted to say was I don't remember. So
Yeah, man. And it's one of those things where I, I think I can't remember. I had said the last time we were on the pod, one of my teams that was the bogey. It was either PAOK or AEK. I was really afraid of AEK, but at the same time, like going into it, to Chris's point, Chris had mentioned once we lost to PAOK, he's like, watch us win against AEK. Now, you know that prop that sounds like Panathinaikos this year,
yeah,
where we lose and then we somehow beat the harder opponent, or the higher hill to climb was, in my opinion, was the AEK game because of that streak that they had going on, man. And we ended up pulling that off and getting that win. So I'm yeah, you never know what you're gonna get with this team. You
this
never
is
know.
this is the second thing I wanted to say that I forgot. And I'm gonna state the obvious here, but in like we already said, in 2 games we went 1-0 down within 4 minutes. And that's obviously something that has to come to an end. Again, stating the obvious, no rocket science here, but that's just not sustainable. You can't you can't these teams are already good enough. PAOK is a good enough team. AEK is a very good team. Olympiacos even. Aris even. I would say the same for Aris. You can't keep going down 1-0. It's not sustainable just because in 2 games, we did come back 1-1 against PAOK, ended up losing that. We came back, flipped it 2-1 against AEK, but that's just not sustainable in the long run. Like you can't keep going down 1-0. You're making your job so much more difficult. These games are already hard enough and the competition is already competitive enough that don't make your life more difficult. So I think I don't know what it's what I can account it to. At least in the eye game, it was definitely. I don't want to put full blame on Juankar, but he did get shoved off the ball very very easily. But it could have happened to anyone really. So what I'm saying is it a lack of focus, a lack of have to ease into the game? That's also something we've seen with under Tareem, that it kind of takes us sometimes 10-15 minutes to get our footing on the pitch. Now it's just that's just getting more capitalized because we've conceded these early goals. But you gotta, I don't know, just I hate to use these just empty phrases because it feels like a very American soccer coach, but just be ready. Like when the game starts, just be ready. I don't know. It's very lazy commentaries. I'll critique myself on that, but when it happens in back-to-back games, I don't know what else I could say.
Yeah.
Other than you got to be more ready. You got to take the game from the beginning and not let it happen again, because that's just not sustainable. Like I said.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's that things like that can punish you in the end. And you fall to a team. I mean, this sounds funny, but for example, you'll play like a Lamia, or you'll play like somebody that is a more defensive minded team. Let's say you fall 1-0 to them early on and they just shut up shop and you have no answer. I mean, that
Exactly.
things like that can happen. And
Exactly.
against AEK, in a way, I mean, it's one of those butterfly effect things, right? Maybe if they didn't score that early cheap goal, we wouldn't have like turned it around, and who knows, right? But you have to be ready. I know, like you're saying, it's kind of like that empty statement, but it's true. You that the very basis of it, you need to be prepared. You need to be ready and not have mental lapses. And again, full respect to Juankar as well, but just things like that can't happen.
I don't even put full blame on him. Like again, like I said, it could have happened to anyone. It
Right.
ended up being him in that moment. So, he's got to take some of the blame. And by the way, he was very emotional after the game. If no one's seen it, go look it up on whatever. It's all over Twitter, or at least it was yesterday. But he took full responsibility for that goal. And he was very emotional, and he made some very emotional comments about like how much he loves the club, what he feels for the club, how accepted he's felt and loved from the fans, and his family too has felt that way. So, this is not an anti-Juankar thing at all. Like he's been a great servant to the club, and he's been a great asset for us to have over many years, and just is a good guy at the end of the day. So there's nothing more you could ask for him. So it's absolutely nothing against Juankar, and that's why I say like it could have happened to anyone, and just seeing that emotion from him, especially at a time where he's fallen out of favor. Like he's not even the first pick left back anymore. So it just, I don't know. It's emotional for a fan, and it's really nice to see from our perspective. So, thank you, Juan Car, for that.
Yeah, shout out to Juankar, man. I mean, the guy is. I mean, we saw what happened to him in the first leg against Olympiacos. Nothing more needs to be said. I mean, he's been a very very faithful player
Yeah.
to the team the last few years. I mean, I had said it the other day. He was the bright spot of that Boyatos brief stint. I mean, he is awesome. I love Juankar, and like to your point as well, he's a very positive figure in the team.
Yep.
You always see him kind of laughing and joking on the players' lives and commenting
Yep.
things, and it's nice to see like players feel appreciated as well, because it's a 50-50 road, right? Sometimes players look at the clubs like mercenaries, and other times fans just want a player to be thrown out of a club over a mistake. So I'm glad that there's that mutual love there between the
Yep.
fans and Juankar. So yeah,
Those are the type of players you want in your club, regardless of what his current form is. Those are the type of players you want in the club. And, that Juankar should just be almost like, uh, not an idol. Idol is not the right word, but like a benchmark for the type of players that we want to see at the club, and the type of players we should be bringing at the club, because they know Posso Varia and Fanella. They know the weight of what this kid is and what the Trifili means. So yeah, it's just great to see.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Very very few characters like that we've seen last few years. Speaking of players, there we've seen and we kind of talked about it. In the eye game with Foti, Almeida came out and I don't know if you saw the comments. He was saying that Panathinaikos is very blessed to have a player like Foti, very good quality player. And Almeida even stressed the importance. I mean, he's a Greek player. Captained the team yesterday, pulled up in the big moment, and I mean, we've heard buzz all season about Foti and scouts coming to games and watching him. And today we saw, and even yesterday after the game, we saw some reports of some clubs showing interest in Foti, and kind of we saw as well like some contract situation. Alex, do you have some details on that stuff you kind of want to break down?
Yeah, like you said, there's been clubs swarming. Sporting was one of the big clubs in Portugal that was looking at him. He made the front page of a newspaper there, so they're very interested with him. Apparently, that came a couple weeks ago. Sevilla was also interested, maybe. And just today or yesterday, Lazio came up in Italy. There was probably a couple more somewhere around now that I'm forgetting, but there's definitely some pretty big name clubs that are calling and looking at him. Um, in terms of the contract details, it's rumored that Panathinaikos is going to offer him a new contract, even though he's under contract already until 2027. But the rumor is, which I've seen it from many, many sources, so I think it's even more than a rumor, that it says before May, he's going to get offered a new contract, which is going to more than double his current wages. So he's on right now about 500,000 euro, and it would bring him to about, I think, 1.2 ish million euro wages a year. So more than double wages. The contract would extend his stay by 1 year. So instead of it expiring in 2027, it expired in 2028. So lengthwise, it's not really affected that much. It's just more of like a typicality that, you offer a new contract, you also kind of just uh, alter the length. But yeah, the wages is the big thing. So more, I mean, yeah, I think it speaks for himself how much we want to keep him around. The club has also said, I don't know exactly who this is coming from. I don't know if it's coming from Malafuso specifically, but the club has apparently said that they don't intend to sell him, at least not this summer. So there's also that. But yeah, this is kind of the Foti news of the moment.
Yeah, they don't intend to sell him. And from what it sounds like as well, it sounds like Forti's also, per reports, it could be untrue, but he seems pretty comfortable staying in Greece with Panathinaikos. Um, I could definitely see it. I mean, we just saw one of his good friends, Bakasetas, captain of the national team, join the club. He's Forti's got his girlfriend in Greece and
Oh yeah,
his
oh yeah,
family,
he does.
and so he's got there's definitely incentive to stay. Of course these clubs are going to come knocking, but also, I mean, Foti, I feel like there's no pressure for him to leave, or there shouldn't be any pressure on himself to leave now anyway. Just because I think if he stays another year in Greece, he can hone his skill set even more. Because personally, for me, a big kind of critique I had of Foti last year and even at the beginning of this year is that he wasn't really like that clinical finishing guy. He was more of like getting penalties, making the proper moves, mobile striker. But we're starting to see like the last handful of games, like he's coming up and he's scoring some really good goals. His hustle's there. And yeah, I mean, if he could stay one more year, I think he's going to sharpen that even more. We're going to see a really deadly striker for Greece.
He's coming alive at the perfect time. This is a great point that you bring up. He has 6 goals or assists in the last 6 Panathinaikos games. So that's, you could say what you want about the Greek league, but that in itself is a very good ratio. That's a 1 goal contribution, 1-to-1 goal contribution ratio to games. That includes, that's not just games against, weak teams. That includes a brace uh, Olympiacos, and a goal against AEK most recently. He didn't score against PAOK. That was the only game in those last 6 that he didn't contribute to a goal. But yeah, 6 goals or assists in the last 6. And this is off the top of my head now, so I hope I don't get this wrong. But I think he has 38 appearances all comps with us this year, 21 goals, 7 assists. Don't quote me on that because that's completely off, like a very stored memory I have. But I don't think, even if I'm a little off, I don't think it's that far off. So that's what, 28 goal contributions in 38. That's still pretty good. Like that's not something to be overlooked. And something we've talked about is, he has scored a lot of penalty goals in that chunk. But still 28. And by the way, he's a clinical penalty taker, so don't even take that away from him. But 28 goals or assists in 38 is very good. Nothing to overlook. And like I said, especially the 6 in the last 6 goal contributions in the last 6 games at the most crucial time in the season right before the playoffs and into the playoffs. That's just clutch, man. Like you can't overlook that either.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, this is just going back to when I don't know if you remember when he first signed. I remember when he first signed to Panathinaikos from Olympiacos. I remember looking at it and I'm like, dude, this guy, I think he's gonna be something special. And before people are gonna think that I'm saying he's not at, of course, this level, but his profile reminds me of Luis Suarez a little bit. Like he's
Yeah.
got the dribbling, he's got the skill set on himself.
Yeah, yeah.
And if he can score, man, I mean, this guy is going to be a really solid player. And I remember saying this back when he signed. Like he's got something special you don't really see Greek players have with that technique.
I like that you brought up the technique and the Suarez comp, even though it might sound funny, but dribbling is something that is definitely a quality of his that maybe gets overlooked. I don't know. I don't. For me, it doesn't get overlooked, but I think maybe in the grand scheme of things, gets overlooked to the point where it was in the first half and against the AEK game on my feed. The commentator said basically, I think he said verbatim, "O Foti suskani oti theli." Like he was just dribbling through at some points,
Yeah.
just kind of like threading the needle between them. And we don't have to harp on the eye game too much, but yeah, that the dribbling, yeah, I do feel like it's something that gets overlooked, but he definitely has that in his game too, which is why I think that Suarez comp wasn't a bad comp at all, because that's Liverpool Suarez, that's what he was like. He was a very all around center forward, very similar to what Foti is.
Yeah, that was like, I remember when I first saw him, like that was the first time I watched Foti play. It's the dribbling skills. I mean, he's got the technique. And I mean, as I've seen him kind of progress through the years, and especially last couple years, like another thing when I watch him play, it's the dribbling. I'm always impressed by it. And it's his strength too. Like I mean, he's playing his back to the defender, and I mean, he's holding on to the ball and he's passing it off, and it's just little things like that that you pick up on that you don't, at least for me, like I don't really see with Greek players, especially Greek strikers, where I'm like, okay, this guy's a little bit different than what we've seen so far. And I mean, there's a reason why Sevilla and Sporting are looking at this guy, because he's got the technique that you see like a Brazilian have or like a South American.
So what's his value?
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you. So I'll go on record. I had said maybe it was a week or two ago, and this just shows how my opinion flopped, right? I was like, man, I was like, I saw the valuation of how we were saying we wanted like 25 mil, and I'm like, man, we're gonna get like max 10. After yesterday, I mean, if this continues, I mean, I legit see him as like a 20, $25 million player, euro player, whatever. And something I forgot to mention too is that Leva I can never say their name right. They have the 30% sell on fee. So that's the thing where I'm like, dang, we are gonna have to try to milk it and
Yep.
maybe push in the higher 20s if we want to get a decent chunk, because they're gonna get a good amount of money.
Yeah. It's an interesting question, something we've gone, back and forth with amongst ourselves. It's hard for me to say because there's so many variables, like there's the whole like Greek league, this and that, you know. He's not like a true number nine, kind of like that false nine, like we said. So how do all of these things play into his valuation? I am with you kind of like the way it's going, because it's only going upward trajectory at this point. Like he has taken no steps back um in his career. Not that he should have, because he's, still young, so it should only go up. But the trajectory that it's going, I don't see a reason that we should accept an offer below 20. And like you said, I think it's for obvious reasons in our best interest to milk that. But because of this, I say that more because of this trajectory, because why cut bait at 20, or why just, cut and run at 20, let's say, and accept an offer there if can make it 25, 30? Like there's no reason for us to think that if we keep him for one more year, we're not going to be pushing over 30.
Yeah.
Still, he's 24. He is not quote unquote young anymore. Like obviously still young, but like he's not like that 20, 21-year old truly young talent. So there's like a fine line where you want to keep and not keep him. Don't get me wrong, I would be more than happy to have him at Panathinaikos for our own interests for his whole career. But I think, if you're looking at his career from a, Foti internal standpoint, he probably wants to test himself and develop himself outside of Greece. Maybe, maybe not, but whatever. Let's just assume that. So, why not, because of this trajectory that I'm talking about, why not, try to get the 30? You never, like, if I'm right about 28 goal contributions and 38 this year, like I have no reason to believe it's gonna go down next year. I have only reason to believe it's gonna go up at the bare minimum, stay consistent. So yeah, I don't right now, nothing less than 20. And that's probably my floor right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the sky is the limit. And I mean, if Greece had made it to the Euro, I mean, that was a whole other thing. But if Greece had made it, I mean, his value could have maybe gone up even more in the summer. And if Panathinaikos can make Europe again for next year, and he gets some solid games in Europe, I mean, we're only going to see that valuation, go higher. So definitely, yeah. I mean, 20 could be the floor at the moment, and then to your point, there's no reason to think that it's not going to go up his value. And I mean,
Right.
worst comes to worst, because if let's say it doesn't, like, let's say he somehow like his form just kind of dips next year and his price goes down. I mean, if we had accepted 20 now this year, I mean, that would have been like, I don't know how much off the top of my head, but we wouldn't have gotten that full chunk of the 20, because 30 would have gone to Levadiakos. So
Right.
yeah, man, it's interesting. I mean, I remember being hyped up about Alexandropoulos, but I mean, Foti is like, dude, like, this is the first Greek player and I mean, since I've been a Panathinaikos fan, besides, I mean, Nimis was like the big hot shot back in the day, but this is the first Greek player that I've seen like a lot of hype around, and with due merit. Like this, we see this guy's got these skills. So we'll see what happens there, man. Very interesting comments. Not everybody always agrees. Like, we know our good friend Coots is not the biggest Foti guy, but I think slowly I think he's starting to like him now after yesterday.
Until Foti bags like 35 goals in Greece, Kutz is not going to be on board.
Until he scores like 35 and he scores a hat trick against Madrid.
Yeah.
So
Whatever. It's all fun and games.
yeah, it is all fun and games, But he, Foti is incredible, man. He's incredible, and yesterday
We're lucky to have him, man. We're really lucky to have him. Even if you're not the most sold on him, like I think the majority of the fan base is, like, whether you like him or not on the pitch or whatever, like, he's just an asset to have. And I don't like to talk about players like this, but he's an asset for Panathinaikos right now on the pitch. We gave you some of the stat highlights of 6-6 and the 28 and 38, whatever. But he's also just a good asset for the Alafusos bank at the end of the day. And I really don't like talking about players like that, but he is just an asset to have on all fronts. So we are just lucky to have him.
Yeah, man. And you know what? I get what you mean as well, like talking about them as an asset in other ways as well. As I feel like he along with Bakasetas we could probably pluck some FDK players even into the team. I think they could potentially draw some alluring aura into the team. I don't know. I mean, we've seen. I mean, these could Pseftika rumors. I don't know, like things with Masouras and stuff like that. I mean, you never know. I mean, we see them kind of their parea, on the social media posts, and Bakasetas and Ioannidis could have a nice pool. So I don't know. That's other things that I think about as well. That would be nice to keep Foti and get some more key players in.
We joked about Kurbelis coming back and how much they'd cook in the Frappe Fredo circle with Bakasetas, Kurbelis, and Foti. That would be quite the thing. But yeah, like you said, Masouras. I don't know if we talked. The Masouras rumor came out probably over the international break, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe we could touch about that too. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to transfer you to my phone because I'm having those computer difficulties.
Yeah. No problem. There we go.
Let me just switch that to my AirPods. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. No worries. But yeah, man, while you're getting that sorted out, Masouras, that rumor popped up during the international break, for those that didn't know. And Masouras, essentially, I believe he's out of contract with Olympiacos in the summertime. And so he's been linked with a move away, I believe, because I don't think Olympiacos has offered him a renewal. And so the rumor of Panathinaikos being interested in getting him popped up, along with like a rumor, I think a couple weeks before that, about Fourtounis. Fourtounis, I don't know if that's a real rumor or not, but Masouras, you never know. I mean, nowadays there's really not player loyalty. Players aren't really,
Slukas.
Yeah, Slukas, Alexandropoulos, and we had. You never know. Like we've seen it go both ways, right? So I don't know. I would personally welcome Masouras. I don't think there would be a fan that wouldn't. I mean, maybe there's some hardcore fans that wouldn't, but I'd take him.
Makes a lot of sense because we're not going to re-sign Palacios at this point. Let's say unfortunately, because I was kind of a pretty big advocate to, you know, offer him try to get a like a one. Probably he wouldn't accept a 1 year deal. A 1+1 probably would be more realistic. He'd probably be looking 2 to 3 because of his age. But anyway, regardless of that, we've talked about that before. Bottom line, we're probably not signing Palacios at this point. And then right wing is going to be a question. Like, okay, we still have Mancini, but like Tareem clearly doesn't love Mancini. He usually just uses him to freshen up in situations to get those legs. He's obviously quick and he's a ball presser. So he's not big on Mancini. And then Limnius can obviously play the right. I think by trade he's a left wing. I can't remember if Limnius is by trade a left wing or a right wing. Left wing or right.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Left wing.
yeah,
So it would make sense because we do obviously have an outgoing in Palacios on the right. Masouras' first position is the right. Um, he's Greek international. Masouras has had kind of ups and downs. Like he's gotten a lot of flack for like I guess his finishing is not as good as it should be. But at the end of the day, I think he's a good addition for more reasons than he's a bad addition. I think the one thing I don't like is probably his age. I think he's around 30. We've been shouting, Sturgeon in particular has been shouting that we need to get younger. I think that's something we all agree on. We have the second highest average age in the Super League. I think we posted that on the Twitter account a couple days ago. So getting younger is something that we need. So adding a 30-ish year old is not obviously a step in the right direction because that's around where our average age is, I think. But other than that, I think he does make a lot of sense. I think he makes more sense than Fourtounis. I would welcome Fourtounis too. Fourtounis is a baller. He is before Bakasetas, I think he was undisputed the best cam in Greece.
yeah,
Um, and he also has that positional versatility where he also plays the left wing.
yeah,
Very much kind of like Bernard. He would be like a like for like Bernard replacement,
yeah.
a left wing cam dual kind of guy. But again, Fortunis is also on the older end. I think he's almost pushing 32. So that's also not a step in the right direction age wise. But other than their age being like the glaring thing I don't like, they're both good players. They bring something good to the table. They bring quality on the pitch and a Greek aspect. Um, yeah, I would be sold on both of them, but if I had to pick one, it would be Masouras because of positional need.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that too. 'Cause we have Bacacetas now, so Fortuna. I mean, Fortuna, of course, I would welcome as well. But the one thing I like about Masura is, he gets his flack for it, especially his crossing. Like his crosses are like sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're all over the place. But he's a workhorse. Like he's always running. Anytime I've watched an Olympiacos game or we watched the Ethniki, like he's always doing something. He's always hustling. And I think it would just be a nice addition into the team, especially on that right flank, on that right side. Um, you know, that link up there with Kotsiras or Bayanidis. And of course, it would just add another Greek player into the team and just help it out. I mean, even Tareem has stressed like the importance of trying to like establish a Greek core.
Yep.
That'll be super positive. Again, the age thing, but 30 is not super old anyway. So yeah, dude, I mean, I'd welcome him on a free transfer. I mean, it would be great.
Yep.
That it would just be it would add more than it would take away. Honestly, I mean, you
Yeah.
bring him for free and get
100%.
him in. But
100%.
awesome, man. So anything else you want to add on the FC before we transition over to basketball?
Yeah. While we're talking about transfer rumors, I think we should talk about one that actually happened because I think it happened probably over the international break or probably definitely not the last time we were on is the Maximovic deal. I don't
Oh,
remember when it got announced, but I since we've been gone for so long, I'm just gonna take a wild guess that it was in that hiatus
yeah,
that we had. But yeah, Maximovic, who was heavily rumored with us, even for January, we were trying to get him in the January window from Getafe. He officially signed with us uh, for next season, so he will be coming in the summer. But yeah, it actually happened, which it was kind of up in the air because we didn't know where it was going to go. Getafe didn't want to let him go in January because they're in the fight for a European spot in Spain. Understandable on their part, so they decided to keep him. But I do think he's a free transfer at the end of the season. So it's nice that we just kind of got that done, got that out of the way even before the summer transfer window.
Yeah, that's actually a huge one. So much has happened the last couple of weeks. It's like I completely forgot about it as well.
I forgot
Yeah,
about it, but we started talking about the rumors. I'm like, oh, you know what? There's something more than a rumor. There's a solid thing.
there's an actual signing. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
came out at a perfect time too, because remember, like the week before that, like the papers in Spain were saying that all these other teams were trying to sign him, and we were
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like,
And
wait,
like
we thought we had him.
there was like a rumor of like Saudi, and I was like, dude, we cannot compete with Saudi money. Like Saudi's gonna throw like 3 million a year at him, and we're gonna throw like what, 1.5 million? Like how is
Yeah,
that gonna work? But I think Saudi was rumored with him, and I think Sevilla in Spain, which is a step up from Getafe, was also rumored with him. So he
yeah,
snubbed some money and some good clubs to come to us. I think I was reading a little bit into it, but he wants to. He obviously wants to play every day, but he also wants to be in a position to, I think, win titles. So I think
right.
he favored, probably less money than his other offers, but the opportunity to play in Europe, hopefully, because hopefully that's where we'll be next year. So play in Europe while also competing for titles.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I think of course he can definitely fight for a title. I mean, Sevilla is a very good club, but realistically, they're not going to compete with Real Madrid, with
No,
Barcelona, Atletico. So it's that's a three-horse race over there. So might as well come to Greece, play for a legendary coach with Terim, if he stays. I hope. So that would be really good, and I'm glad that he chose us. I mean, we've seen even with Drago. I know Dragovski's he's not a permanent deal, but we saw that I think he even snubbed like Leeds so he can come to play up on Panathinaikos on loan here. So I mean, it's good. It's showing that the club's got some pull, and we've allured some players in, so we can try and get that illustrious title finally.
kudos to Tareem, man. Again, we've said it before, but he has pull, man. Like he has pull. He brought Bakasetas, which is I know that might be kind of underrated because it's a Greek player, so it's a Greek player just coming home. But dude, it's the Ethniki captain. It's someone who made a good career in Turkey, was a staple at Trabzonspor there. Um, that cannot be taken lightly. He pulled Bakasetas. Drago is not a small deal either. Like he's not a Polish international now. He's fighting for that spot, but like at one time a Polish international. Um, the Maximovic deal, not a small deal either. Big time player. I said it, pods back when we were originally rumored with him. Like this is a guy who had a valuation on transfer market like of like something like 28 million just 3 years ago. That is crazy, man. For us to be able to pull that kind of player still in his prime, he's still 28, so to pull that kind of player still in his prime, having such a high value just a couple of years ago. Now it's dropped a little bit, but still such an influential player on a team competing for a European spot in Spain. It's just credit to Tareem, man. That's cannot be overlooked. And like you said, I hope he stays because he definitely has this kind of pull. And if there's a wallet for him to dig into, which there seems to be a wallet for him to dig into, he can bring some more good players in the summer. Like I think he's proven that he can do that. So I think Maximovic is and hopefully is just the beginning of all that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, dude. I 100% agree. Definitely would love for him to stay so we can continue to get players like Maximovic again. That was like a dream. I would have never imagined that like 2 3 years ago under Bologna. Like what? Tell me we got Maximovic coming in, like So
Bologna only needs Makeda. Like, come on now.
oh, that's right, Makeda, the legend, CR7's idol. Yeah, man. I mean, great stuff, great stuff. I mean, there's a lot of positive to hold on to. I myself, at least, a lot of times I kind of focus on the negative, but we have some positive things going on at the club, and so more to come, hopefully in the summertime, especially with Maximovic. But I think it's time we kind of transition a little bit to the basketball side.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
since last time we talked, Panathinaikos has played a couple of EuroLeague games. Um, First one was the Barca game, which that Barcelona game was a game that me and I think you as well as Alki, we kind of had that one written off where we're like, okay, this is probably going to be a loss. So let's kind of like do the math and see where we are in terms of placement. But we actually won that game. Like Panathinaikos came back from down 16 against Barcelona. It was at home for us, but I mean, still, it's Barcelona. Came back from down 16 and won 89-81 against, again, Barcelona. So one of the top teams in EuroLeague.
At the
And that
time, they were
was,
second, right?
they were second place, and that's where we stole second place from. We just kind of came, just took it under the rug from them. And Panathinaikos, again, I mean, since the since returning from that international break, Panathinaikos had pretty big wins. I mean, we saw the win against Real Madrid, we saw the win against Barcelona, and then we saw, we'll get into it as well, the win against Bologna, who have been starting to kind of falter a little bit. But still, it's hard to go into Bologna and get a win there. So um, that game against Barca, um, we didn't really put a foot wrong. The only quarter that we lost was the second quarter. We started off the game. Oh no, I'm sorry. We actually lost the first quarter by 3 points, and then we lost the second quarter by 9 points. But the third quarter, which is our most infamous area of struggle, we outscored them 26-15, and then finished them off 29-20 in the fourth. So we saw like a huge, huge comeback. And we mentioned as well, guys like Slukas are the key of the offense on the team. I mean, we see night and day differences in the games where Slukas hasn't played versus the games that he has played. And we see the ball movement, we see the smart plays, we see the big shots. Something that I've really noticed with Slukas against Barca and against Bologna is he's starting to hit those big threes that we were kind of hoping he was going to hit. He was missing early on, so he seems a lot more comfortable now. And we're starting to see that kind of translate into the team. That Barca game was just incredible, especially coming back from down 16. I mean, we at least myself, I'm like, this might be it. This might be it, but no, we're seeing a transition in the team. I mean, Adam, and I think is getting these guys ready for that playoff run. Alex, how did you see that Barca game? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wish we had done a pod, nearer to that to have like a more vivid memory of it. I remember all the broad strokes, like you just said, but yeah, I don't. It was the first time we usually see the inverse, like you kind of touched on, where we're ahead and then we choke it away, even versus lesser opponents. But like this was the exact opposite, where we were down 16 and then we flipped it, which was completely unexpected. Yeah, I don't. Other than that, I don't remember more specifics. But yeah, I don't know. Like you said, we took it away in the second half. So the halftime tea talk must have been something special. Like, uh, I don't know, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. It was a couple weeks ago, and it was just crazy, man. There's just so much going on. Really, I mean, myself, some of the tiny details I do remember is like Nunn dunking on Jabari Parker and then dropping him and then hitting a three in his face. I remember that. And then a big time three that Slukas, it was a buzzer beater three. And like the team was just rocking, man. Like it was such good vibes from that game. Um, Came out of there, got that win. Well, we were at home, but we got that win. That was a super important win because that's what put us into second place. And so this past Friday, last week now, it's already going to be a week. Panathinaikos played Virtus Bologna in Italy away. Now, if we remember, Bologna was like a top three team for much of the EuroLeague season. They recently have been kind of faltering. They dropped down to eighth. Panathinaikos went into that game, and it was almost like an opposite of Barca, where Panathinaikos had a 16-point lead heading into halftime, And I remember where I was standing. I'm like, this better not be a reverse Barca situation where we blow the 16-point lead. Sure enough, we blow the 16-point lead in the second half. But the difference is we were able to finish the job. Kendrick Nunn hit a buzzer beater. Something that I thought was really cool that you don't really see in EuroLeague is the coach called an isolation play for Nunn. He waved everybody off. He just told them, "All right, go ahead." Nunn drove in, hit a floater, kind of bobbled in. I thought it was going to come out. Buzzer went off. We won the game, and it was just, again, besides blowing that lead, which in basketball they say it's a game of runs. That's kind of the case usually where you do kind of blow leads. We saw more, again, positive basketball game, ball movement. We didn't see hero ball. Nunn was kind of, picking his shots, being smart, and then he came up big time clutch with that shot. So there was nothing to lose too because we were tied. It would have gone to overtime. But
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like the ISO play was like definitely I think the right call because worst case scenario you're going into overtime, like you just said. So, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Overtime is not the best thing because we've seen that we've really choked in overtime. Like we've lost by like almost 10 points in overtime because we've just like completely gone cold, or just like at other times like just run plays through like one player. I'm remembering Mitoglu in like one of like it was like the Maccabi game away or something. So we've definitely gone cold in overtime and don't have a positive record in overtime, but still like just on paper that 89-89, why not just run it through the hottest player, the hottest hand who you have right now? And I think that was Nunn. Were you surprised that it was, even though I think Nunn was the hottest player at the time, were you surprised that it wasn't Lucas?
yeah, I was I was a little bit surprised because like Nunn was hitting shots, but he wasn't taking a lot of them. It was more like Slukas hitting the big threes and driving and getting those kind of big time shots. So I thought it was gonna go to Slukas for like a 3-point shot or like a mid range shot. So seeing that, I mean, that was pretty interesting, and I understand why he did it too, because that's where we are kind of blessed in the sense where we've got two big time guards that can hit big time shots. They're clutch guys. Like Kendrick Nunn was known kind of like in college, and then when he was on Miami Heat, he was kind of known as like a scorer. And we've seen that in EuroLeague, but especially against Bologna, he was a lot more efficient than he normally is. So that was really good to see. Something that made me laugh. I don't know if you saw the thing that Kut sent in there. Wade Baldwin was like talking trash on Nunn. He was saying something like,
oh yeah, I did see this.
he's
Yeah,
statistically like not the best player on his team, and then Nunn's like,
yeah,
I don't even want to like, I'm not even gonna like beef with a guy that's only averaged 3 points for his entire career. So I'm like, Nunn has that little. I like it. Nunn has that little like cockiness to him that kind of like, yeah, I know I'm good. And we saw that when he hit that shot too. Like he waved everybody off. He didn't care, and everybody was like, all right. Then he hit the shot, and I'm sure that's like he feels good about himself. And that's big going into the playoffs.
yeah. You love the confidence, and also like it was just a well taken run to like a mid range shot because like you said, like it was no secret that he was going to run that play and just hero ball it basically. But saying is that there was like three guys right in front of him, and like he deked the first defender, and then kind of like shimmied around the second, and then lobbed it over the third. Like, so it wasn't easy by any means because they knew exactly what was coming, so they were set up for it. But he still found a way past 2-3 guys. Like it was not an easy thing at all to do, and that's clutch, man. That's just clutch.
Yeah, it was cold blooded. That's it
Yeah,
was it was real smart, and it's just hats off to everybody too, because like again to coach and to Nunn, like we didn't call a timeout, so because if we called a timeout anyway, they would have given them a time to reset as well. Like they were gonna reset, they were gonna come up with their scheme. So just having Nunn drive down, call everybody off for the ISO. I mean, it was good, man, and in Bologna. Like that was a big win. Um, and that kind of solidified us again to finish off the last round in second place. Now, currently, right now, because we have a game to play tomorrow, we are in fifth place. So Monaco's in second right now. Barcelona's in third. Olympiacos are in fourth, and then we're in fifth. So we're gonna go and play Bayern Munich tomorrow, and so that's a must win. We need to win that game tomorrow. Nothing's
Could
a
you
given.
explain? Could you explain to everyone? Sorry to interrupt, but why we're in fifth? Because if I'm not wrong, 2 through 5 all have the same record, and
That's right.
we were all ourselves confused a little bit, and I think we got to the bottom of it. But it has to do with a tiebreak, basically. I don't want to speak out of my ass, but if you have it handy, it might be useful.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm also like not completely entirely sure on how it works either. I know that it goes by like head to head first, and then
Right.
it goes by I think it goes by your points differential
I think
after that.
is it head to head results first,
I think okay, it's your record and then it's your head to head result because
and then
we
it's head to
have
head points.
then it's head to head points. That's right.
Yes.
Because
And then it's
Olympiacos
just
are
and
ahead.
then it's just difference in general. Right. So
Yes,
The Olympiacos is a good one because we lost twice to them in the regular season. So they're always going to have the tiebreak over us.
that's right.
Then
Yeah,
Barcelona is the other example because we split. We're 1-1 with them in the regular season, and we have an identical difference with them in the games. They beat us by 8, if I remember, and we beat
yep.
them by 8. So if we're tied with Barcelona, then it goes to general difference, which I think we currently have better, if I'm not
Which
wrong.
yes, yeah.
Yes.
General difference. We have the best of the top five besides Real Madrid. We have
Right.
156, and then everybody else is lower than
So
us. So
basically, with 2 games left, the rule of thumb is whoever took the season series is going to get the tie break. If it's tied, it goes to season series point difference. If that's tied, which it's only going to be tied with Barcelona probably, it goes to general difference.
it'll go to general difference. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
because we have a because Olympiacos again they beat us on the regular season twice. They have one more loss than us, but they're ahead of us because they have that win. They are 21-12 because they played
Oh,
their
because
game today.
they played their game today. Okay. I was going to say,
Yeah, and then we're 21-11. So, but we're
yeah.
behind right now. We have a game in hand. We're gonna play tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see. Everybody else has played their games. Fenerbahce is gonna play their game tomorrow too. They're 20-12. Um, so definitely need to get that win. If we get that win tomorrow, we'll bounce back up to second place. So that'll be really
Listen,
important.
we should. It's Bayern away tomorrow,
Yep.
today, which it'll probably release on Friday. So Friday US and European time, it's Bayern away, and then it's the last game is home to Alba. So
Yeah.
they're both winnable games. Like honestly, there's no reason it shouldn't be two and two there. And I think, like we just said, if we're not wrong, 2-2, that means 100% we have the fate in our hands for finishing second.
Yeah, yeah. From what I understand it, we need to win these two games. We win these two games, we'll finish um second place. So it's in our hands. Yeah, it definitely is in our hands. And of course there's other moving parts, but as it stands, I think if we let's see, if we finish second, I think we'd play Maccabi as it stands right now if we finish second. So that would be pretty interesting. Real Madrid would likely get Bologna if Bologna stays where they're at in eighth. So, I mean, if we can avoid Bologna and if we can avoid like Partizan, which Partizan looks like they're a playing team right now.
Partizan, I don't like. Yeah, Partizan, I don't want.
Yeah,
Bologna,
Partizan.
I don't mind. I don't mind Bologna. Bologna, their trajectory is only down. I know they've fallen
Yeah,
from like third to eighth, but they're still a good team. But I wouldn't mind Bologna, honestly.
yeah. Bologna is like funnily enough, I'd rather play them than Partizan. Partizan or
Yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Obradovic, man, like yeah, he's a legend for a reason. So definitely don't want to play
Obradovic,
against an
that
Obradovic
home
team.
atmosphere over there, like you do not want to go to fucking Belgrade. No,
No way, dude. No,
no,
yeah, you don't want
miss
to
me
go to
that.
Belgrade. Yeah,
No.
they've got the atmosphere, they've got the coach, they've got the hustle. Like they're a team, man. So definitely want to avoid them. But again, yeah, fate is in our hands. We'll see what we can do. Objective again, like we lost the Greek Cup. My hope is that we win the Greek league. We're gonna play Olympiacos soon in the league. Don't know what's gonna happen there. Definitely want to win the Greek league and make a run in the playoffs and see what we can do in the playoffs, and then in the summer just kind of tool some things around. We've heard rumors like again Hazonia came up again the last couple weeks. Tavares is linked with the NBA, so I don't think he's going to come to us. He's been linked with the NBA, and he's a really good player. But realistically, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Real Madrid are the favorites, but you never know. In a series, anything can happen. Especially once they start to turn into those one-off games. We never know, man. We never know.
Hey,
So
we've proven we could beat Real Madrid and not just beat them, but beat them away from home. I'm not saying that's going to be what's going to happen every game against Real Madrid, but it at least should give us a little more hope than most, because most have not done that. So
yeah,
again, I don't like our chances against Real Madrid. They're obviously the powerhouse. They're the one that separates themselves from the rest this year. So, but that away win is at least somewhat encouraging. We've talked a little bit about like who we want in a playoff series, who we don't. We don't have to get too much into that, but in a one-off, I think we could definitely beat anyone. In a
oh, yeah.
playoff series, Real Madrid is not losing a playoff series. I don't think if they lose this, it's going to be in the final four in a one-off.
Yeah.
So you want to avoid Real Madrid in a playoff series, which we're not looking at that right now. And there are a couple other teams that you would want to avoid in a playoff series. I think I know I just said we don't have to go into this, but here I am going into it. Olympiacos is another one where I would, we've said we would want to avoid them also in a playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah. Olympiacos is the team, and they even. I mean, McKissick. He's on Olympiacos. He even said he's like we would love to get Panathinaikos in a playoff series. So they smell blood, and it's one of
I
those
mean,
things where
I hate to say it, but they clearly have our number at least so far this season. Like
yeah.
they've won 3 out of 4. They've won the 2 League, and we've split in the league, I think.
Yeah, we split in the league, yeah. But they have the season sweep on us in EuroLeague. It's hard, man. We don't have this. They beat us all the games is at the center position. Like Lasor is awesome, but he's for a center, he's small compared to Moses Wright. So that's the killer. That's where we lose our games against Olympiacos because we have no answer. So we have Balstarovsky, who's the same size, but he's an amateur. I mean, he's just not good enough to play at that level. So
Yeah.
yeah, that definitely Olympiacos I'd avoid, and Partizan, stuff like that. Everybody else, though, I agree with you. I think in a one-off, I'm happy with we can play. I mean, even Olympiacos, I'd be worried in a one-off too with them. But I mean, anything can happen too in a one-off. But a series that's when your center is gonna come and shine. So yeah, I'm happy with the trajectory, man. Like compared to what we were talking about, like I remember a couple weeks into January, it was kind of like doom and gloom and like, man, this team is like not it. And, there's a lot of issues, but no, like Adaman kind of reined it in
Oops.
and seen like a huge difference in the overall positive play. So I'll be happily, watching tomorrow, hoping we get that win against Bayern and then next week against Alba, and then we get playoffs. So it's going to be good, man.
Just jumping back to Nunn, I forgot I wanted to mention this when we were talking about him. He's apparently been offered an offer from us. I don't know if you
No,
saw that.
no, I didn't.
Yeah, this just came out in like it was either today or yesterday, like last 24 hours for sure. Uh, I think he has an offer on the table from us. I didn't see the details. I don't know if they even released the details, but I think I all I saw was he has a 2 year offer from us, and FS are reportedly either did offer him also a deal or are about to offer him a deal that is, I think also they said reportedly a big money one.
Ooh.
So that is, again, this is all like super new in the last 24 hours. So I don't want to like I'm not speaking out of my ass, but it's really raw news. But these aren't rumors. I did definitely see this going around. So 2 year deal, 2 year offer from us. FS rumored to also offer him a big money deal. I don't know the details of that. So I I we've talked about this before. What is Nunn gonna do? He's It's always been kind of known that he's kind of eyeing the NBA return.
Yeah.
He loves it. I think here he's expressed how much he's enjoyed his time here. He's playing really well. Um, the fans love him. He's a man with options right now. Like he
Yeah.
could stay with Panathinaikos where he's proven himself. It's going well. It's all dandy basically, or he could stay in EuroLeague and go to FS for maybe more money. I'm not sure. Or be a squad player in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's expressed, like you touched on it too. He's expressed that he'd love to stay up on Panathinaikos, but he was saying, at this point in his career, money's really important. So, you know, at Panathinaikos, like he mentioned, I think it was against when we beat Barca, like the fans, like how he's appreciated by the fans, by the club, by everybody. It's such a good and positive environment. Um, I could definitely see him staying. And I don't know where this money is coming from all of a sudden from Panathinaikos, but they're like rumoring that Panathinaikos is like, I think we have like, besides like Real Madrid, we have like the biggest budget. So, I mean, we
Really?
offered, yeah, I mean, it could be fake, but that's like things that I've heard about in spaces and just like reading things online. Um, where Panathinaikos is like, it's Real Madrid, I think Barca, and then us that have like the highest budget in EuroLeague.
Wow.
And I can kind of see it because we're paying Slukas 10 million. So you know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I saw some like fake rumor a month ago that like Monaco was gonna offer none like a blank check, but I think that's BS because they can
Yeah.
barely Kemba Walker. So
I'd be more worried about FS rather than Monaco, honestly.
yeah.
This FS thing seems to be concrete. It seems like I think in the next couple of days it's gonna we're gonna see that FS offered him a deal. So yeah, I'm definitely more worried about FS, and there's probably gonna be other suitors from EuroLeague too. Like it's not just gonna be us and FS. Like there's gonna be other suitors. So like you said, I think the fact that we do have a larger budget than we thought is good. So we could throw him a bag, but also like we have the upper hand because like he knows what it's like at Panathinaikos and he likes it and like
Yeah.
it's like do you stay with what you know and what's working or do you like is the grass greener on the other side basically um
Yeah.
and
And
it's
and
not because we're green to the heart so it's not.
yeah, exactly. Like just thinking too, like even outside of that, like I look at FS, right? If FS offers him a deal, he and Shane Larkin are the same player. So the
Mm.
issue is, if Larkin walks, because that was another rumor. I was seeing if none leaves,
Madrid.
um, well, who not Larkin,
Larkin.
he's at FS.
No, but he's
So
rumored with Madrid maybe.
no, he was rumored. So they were rumoring him with us.
Oh
Along,
really?
yeah, because he used to work with Adamus.
With
That's they
Ataman, yeah.
won those two championships.
Yeah, yeah.
And also with Vasily Micic, but Micic is going to stay in NBA. He's in Charlotte now. He's actually doing really good. But they were rumoring him. So let's say like if none does leave, I can't see Larkin staying in FS because they're both like the same type of player. Like they're both score first guys. Versus Panathinaikos, like Slukas is like he's shown like this season he doesn't care about like giving up shots to none. Like he's fine taking like a second role when it comes to being the scorer, but he's
Yeah.
also stepped up when it's needed too. So his overall as a player, like as a player, I think his best option is Panathinaikos because like you're saying, he's already in an established system. He's already on a team that he knows. He knows that he can be the guy to score for us and we're probably going to offer him a decent amount of money. So um, I hope he stays, but also at the same time, if he does leave, I'm not too worried either because we could get like a guy like Shane Larkin, for example, who I'm a really big fan of. Um, so we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm
I
actually
thought
really happy that you said that.
I thought I saw Larkin rumored to Real Madrid, but I guess
He
I missed
honestly
that.
he could be because Shane Larkin, man, he used to play in the NBA. He the
Yeah.
guy is legit, dude. Like
No,
he
he's a baller. I know. Yeah, he would Madrid would definitely take him because he's good enough. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know why I thought that. Maybe I don't
yeah.
know.
No, you're
But yeah,
probably
that
right. Yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, man, that's I mean that's pretty much it for the basketball, I'd say. Did you want to add anything else to it?
Not on the basketball. We covered a lot, man. I mean, it was like we said, it's been so long since we've been on. I know it was international break, so there was 2 weeks of no games for the FC at least. But yeah, it's 3 weeks since the last pod. There was a lot to cover, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Alrighty then. Yeah, that's pretty much all we've covered. I mean, we've again like those last few weeks that we've missed out, but we covered a lot. Again, tomorrow basketball, we've got that game against Bayern. The FC is going to play on the weekend against Aris. So
Aris.
we have an eventful next couple of days for our club. Hoping and praying everything goes well for the team, and then the next time when the Australians are on, hoping it's a lot more positive. If you guys aren't already, follow us on Instagram at PAO Fans International. Follow us on Twitter as well, same handle. We're also on Facebook. And of course, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well, where we post these. We're also on YouTube as well, so you guys can check us out there as well.
We're most active on Twitter. And I just remembered this too. Sorry, I feel like I just keep remembering stuff left and right. There's been a couple of blogs since there's been such a hiatus in the in the pod. So I think since the last pod, I think Sturge dropped 2 blogs. One of which, they were both very good, but one of which was extremely good because he spoke about the experience of being an international fan, an international Panathinaikos fan, but I think it was also very relevant to just any international fan. So that was really good. So he has 2, and I had one that I posted about last week. So if you're interested in that, go give them a read. They're all fairly short reads, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Be sure to check out those blogs, you guys. I've read a couple of them and really well written. Our guys are very passionate Panathinaikos supporters, and we come from all different walks of life. We all kind of have our areas of expertise on the club. So be sure to check that out, you guys. As always, we appreciate you guys. Next time, we're gonna have the Australians on here, who will hopefully have some positive results to go over. See you guys.
Bye.